Hey guys, this is Reverend Sean of the Centered Path, and today we're going to talk about some problems that people have with practice and meditation. They're called the Five Hindrances. So in the Satipatthana Sutra, the Mahasatipatthana, which is basically kind of like how to meditate and how to practice, you'll notice if you start looking at that each one of the meditations are different for different people. And that was very specific in the Buddha's time. The Buddha was considered a physician. A physician doesn't give the same amount of medicine or the same kind of medicine to every patient. It just doesn't work that way. And that was the understanding that he really had back when he was teaching. And he taught for about 45 years, and he had to really, learn to teach people who were butchers versus hunters versus housewives versus singers versus kings and princes. So everybody had to be taught a little bit, merchants too, and even Brahmin priests he had to teach, and he had to change things a little bit for each one of them. And that's what we got to do when we're practicing and looking into Buddhism for ourselves. We have to tailor it for ourselves. Remember, as Bruce Lee said, absorb what is useful, and I really like that because that's a very good Buddhist concept. Maybe it's not a Buddhist concept, it's a Bruce Lee concept, but anyway. So there's 5 parts of the actually 5 hindrances, and this is on the Centered Path website. You can download the page. This is the document here that I wrote up, and it's got all 5 parts here. And we're going to talk about the first one today, which is just desire. Okay, so the first one that's going to hinder, now the meditation we were attempting to have we're trying to have an unshakable and calm mind. That's what we're trying to do in our process of meditation, contemplation, and the practice of being a Buddhist, a Buddhologist, if you want to call it that. You're studying Buddhist training concepts, and we're not trying to proselytize. We're not trying to convince you to drink the Kool-Aid or anything like that. You can try it, but you don't want to drink it, until you really like it, kind of idea. Does it make sense? It's kind of an old, weird kind of thing to think. These 5 things, which is going to be desire, ill will, or what's called enmity, okay, anger, aversion kind of thing, sleepiness or sloth or laziness, restlessness and remorse, and doubt. Okay, so desire or clinging to having it one way or another, ill will, aversion, anger, hatred towards yourself, towards others, towards the process, towards what you're doing, whatever. Sleepiness, okay, don't meditate when you're sleepy, you'll fall asleep. Sloth, which is being lazy, and just tiredness. So not too close to eating and not too close to bedtime and those kind of things. And not if you haven't had enough rest. This isn't supposed to be like Marine boot camp where you do things without sleeping. I mean, this is supposed to be something to really develop yourself, and you don't have to do it so rigorously. You can totally take a refuge and go to a temple and practice hard like they do, and go to a zendo and sit for days and do that and have session and meet with teachers and have special quizzes and all that kind of stuff. You can do that, but is it necessary? Maybe for some. Restlessness is the 4th one, or remorse. It's kind of like there's a weird one. Waiting for what is not yet. So your restlessness, you're like, you want to hurry up. Where is it already? I want to be enlightened. I've been doing this for 4 hours. How come I'm not enlightened yet? And then the 5th one is doubt. Like as you get into it, you'll be like, this doesn't work. This is BS. How can this work? I've been sitting here. I've been doing exactly what they said. And this is the same thing that the Buddha went through, by the way. With the teachers that he followed before he became enlightened, he went through these things, and that's why he brought these forward. And he saw that these were parts of the path that could get in your way. Okay, so the main one is clinging or desire, clinging to this way or that. And it's when you get upset when someone doesn't sit properly, or they're not breathing properly, or you're not breathing properly, and you get frustrated with yourself. You're too into whatever the objects of the senses. So that could be flavors. So maybe you're like, I really want some ice cream. That's going to hinder you from being in concentration because you're thinking about ice cream. Or, that smell is terrible. What is that smell? Now, as we work in meditation, we start to contemplate and we see things as they are. Less and less will bother us. Now, that isn't to say that if your house is burning and you're meditating, you shouldn't stop. No, you should definitely stop because you smell smoke, right? But smoke, sometimes smoke smells good, smoke smells bad. Some incense smells good, sometimes very bad. It depends on you, the person, and what your idea of it is. And that's what we're trying to look at. Okay, you're trying to step away from yourself, observe yourself in meditation, observe yourself sitting. And in that process, as you're sitting, notice how these things come up. Now, if we're talking about desire, we're looking at the 6 sense doors, which are going to be the eyes and sight things. Okay, you may want to sit and think about, like, what things have I seen today? What things did I not like to see? I like to see, I want to see, that kind of stuff. And how am I when I see things? What is my emotional composure? How am I acting? That's when we're bringing meditation into daily life, and we're bringing it into every moment. You start seeing that. And even if it's little tiny bits at a time, that's actually very useful for us. And the second part, it would be like the hearing, like, okay, why do I like these sounds and not these sounds? How come is it we like the sounds of leaves going through a tree, but we don't like the sounds of footsteps, or we don't like the sounds of cars going by? Some people like the sounds of cars going by. It reminds them of the ocean. Okay, that's fine. And it depends on how they... we need to become neutral about that. And then the next one would be smells, and then taste, and then sensory touch. And then the last one would be the desires of our mind. Okay, we have to look at that. Like, what are the things I think of when I'm sitting in meditation? Why do I think that? What am I either troubled by, or what am I needing to express or needing to bring in that my mind keeps going to? And this is what we can look at. And this is why meditation itself is a process. It's not a hurry up and do things and be done with it. You can't do a week or two and say that you're a proficient meditator. I just don't believe it. I've been doing this for over 20 years. I started meditating in 1982, and that's 38 years ago. Ugh, can't believe it's that long ago. But 38 years ago, I started with meditation in martial arts, and I was completely out of my mind as a kid. I was young, and I didn't want to meditate. I thought it was useless, and I wanted to do it because it was cool and groovy, and I would be like, martial arts guy, and that's what they did, and so that's what I should do, and learn how to do this, and this is part of the important thing. And I didn't have a good concept of it. And even after I did it for a few years, and back when I got into college, I started up again with meditation, and had a lot of problems with it, and I was not serious about it at the time, or I couldn't find a way to do it, or I always wanted to do something else. I had girlfriends and had parties to go to and things like that. So later on, as I matured and as I started seeing the value of the meditation practice that I did, then I had started to really go like, wow, I really need to work on this stuff. And that's where it came to me studying more seriously and becoming a minister and a priest. So we meditate on pure objects, we meditate on impure objects, pure sights, impure sights. And what that means is something very clean and something very dirty. Okay, like so much dung, and then new porcelain, for example, that's just sterilized or something like that. It's a very, very pure kind of thing. But we'll start to realize it's all the same stuff. And eventually we'll start to look at the way our bodies are. And one of the meditations is look at all the pieces, the mucus and the snot and the pus and the piss and the poop and the bile and the stomach acid and the feces and just the oils and the gross stuff of the body. And eventually you'll get to the point where you're not disgusted by it. I mean, it's kind of like when you have a kid, or when you have a kid, you're like puke and poop and pee are like the worst thing ever when you first start. But after a while, you're completely immune to it, and you can pick it up with your hand. You don't even care because it's from your kid, and also you just gotten used to it. So it's one of those things that we do get used to. It's not as disgusting, but it takes some process to get there. And for some people, they have to experience it in different ways. And so meditation is a good way to experience it without having to actually do anything with it, like physically. You can do it physically and then eventually go to help people, and you'll be better off. Someone throws up and you don't throw up too, just because you've worked through your mind. You're controlling your body. Remember, meditation is about mind over matter. It's about your control of your mind and how it reacts, and your observation first, later control, and then control the body. Now, of course, you get into some of the esoteric stuff, and people are thinking, hey, I can float or sit in the water for hours. So what? I mean, but if your life is still good, and you're having a good life, and you're sleeping well, and you're waking up well, and you're eating good, and you're doing all this stuff, that's what it's about. So that we practice on looking at what you desire or what you don't want, okay, or what makes you satisfied and what makes you dissatisfied. Why are you dissatisfied in your life? This is the desire part. Like, what is it that's going on that you're dissatisfied with? Okay. Are you always wanting new things? Are you always wanting new experiences? When you find the root of these is this suffering of attachment and desire, the power of them will fade. And that's kind of the coolest part of meditation when that happens to you. But anyway, that's part one of the 5 hindrances. So go ahead and go to thecenterpath.org, download the 2-page cheat sheet, which will give you the basics of these kind of things. And then you can download the full sheets that I have. I'm trying to keep them down to one sheet. There's about 30 different aspects of Buddhism. Plus, we're doing side shots of things which are other concepts and people that have asked questions. I'm trying to work on those, and we're looking at them in a few different factors and a few different ways. Number one is we're trying to approach them in a little bit of the Theravada sense, which is the traditional, the old school, you would say, of Buddhism, the orthodox school of Buddhism, and the Mahayana, the greater vehicle, which is like China and Tibetan Buddhism, some Zen, and then also the Vajrayana. Well, I guess the Vajrayana is a little bit separate. Vajrayana is part of Mahayana, but anyway, we'll get into that too. You can go on there. Don't forget to subscribe down at the bottom, and watch some of the other videos. I'll post them. Where am I going to post them? I post them up here. I post them right. I'll try and post them up here somewhere, right over here, somewhere like this over here, and or you can just look up other stuff. Make sure you do your reading, and take your time to practice, and don't forget to breathe. We'll talk to you on the other side of the path. Take care.